Hey guys, it's Miss Keenum, and today we're going to talk about how to divide numbers using the partial quotients method. There are 4 steps to the partial quotients method, and those steps are estimate, number 2 subtract, number 3 repeat, and number 4 add. We will be going through each of these steps in the following problem so that you will understand how each one is completed. So this one is 720 divided by 6. So I'm going to go ahead and in my partial quotients problem, I'm going to go ahead and draw this little hangman figure. And then what I do is I go ahead and I make some boxes over here on the right hand side to help kind of guide my answer. So when you set up any problem in the partial quotients method, go ahead and set your problem up like this. Put your divisor over here on the left-hand side, and then make your hangman, or a big number 7, however you want to look at it, and add some boxes. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put what's called the dividend in, which is 720. Okay, so the first thing that I look at here, or my first step, is estimate. So I'm going to go to my first number in my dividend and I'm going to underline it. That number is 7. So I'm going to think to myself, just like I did before, what number can I multiply 6 by to get as close to 7 without going over? Okay, well that number is going to be 1. But I'm not really in this problem trying to figure out how close I can get to 7. I'm really trying to look at how close I can get to 720. So what can I multiply 6 by that starts with the 1 to get close to 720? That answer is going to be 100, because 6 times 100 equals 600. I'm going to change colors real quick. So here we can say 6 times 100 equals 600. Okay. Another way I could have done that is to say, well, 6 can go into 7 one time, and then I added my 2 zeros to finish the number out to get to my 100's place value. Okay. So now the second step in my problem is to subtract. So I estimated, I got 100. 6 times 100 is 600. I put that answer right here. Now I subtract. So 0, 2, and 1. Okay, so now I'm going to look at my first number again. How close can I get to 1, or what can I multiply 6 by to get to 1 without going over? Well, I can't do that because 6 times 1 is 6, which is already over 1. So then I have to kind of expand my number out, extend it. So now I'm looking at 12. What can I multiply 6 by to get as close to 12 without going over? I can say 6 times 2 equals 12 exactly. But once again, I'm really looking at the number 120, not 12. So I can say, well, I can multiply 6 times 20 to get 120. Or like I said, you could just put your 2 here. We need to fill one more spot to get our 0, so I add my 0. Okay, so right here we're going to say 6 times 20 equals 120. I subtract, and I get 0. So I'm finished with this portion of the problem. So I'm finished. I've estimated, I subtracted, I repeated till I got down to 0, or a number that I cannot multiply 6 by anymore without going over it. So now I add. So I'm going to add all of these up to get my answer. So I'm adding what's in the box. So it's 100 plus 20. $120. And that's my answer. But I don't leave my answer over here on the side. I actually put it up here on top. So my answer is 120. There we go. Okay, let's do another one. Okay, so my next one is 908 divided by 3. So remember, I'm going to set up my partial quotients method, which I write my 3, which is my divisor, and then I draw this. That wasn't very good, but I draw this little hangman structure, and I add my boxes. So that's how I'm going to start off every problem that I do. Okay, now I'm going to add my dividend, which is 908. Okay, so here my problem is set up, and I'm ready to start the steps to divide. So I'm going to estimate, and I'm going to look at, remember, this first number. So I have to ask myself, how close to 9 can I get, or what can I multiply 3 by to get as close to 9 without going over? Well, I can actually multiply 3 times 3 to get 9 exactly. But remember, I'm looking at this whole number. I'm not just looking at 9. So I'm thinking in multiples of 10s and 100s. So I can actually multiply 3 times 300 to get close to 900. Remember our trick, we can also just say, well, 3 times 3 is 9, and I need to add 2 more zeros for the 0 and the 8 right here. To cover those, I add 2 more zeros right here. Okay, so remember, 3 times 300 gives me 900. And that's what I put right here. So this is where I'm starting my second step of subtracting. Okay, so I subtract. And I get 8. So now I'm going to repeat. Step number 3, repeat. So now I'm looking at my 8. What can I multiply 3 by to get as close to 8 without going over? Well, we know that 3 times 3 is 9, but 9 is more than 8, so that won't work. So I have to go one down. So I can say, well, I can multiply 3 times 2 to get 6. We'll see how 8 is the only number, so I don't need to add any zeros here. So we can say, well, 3 times 2 equals 6. Equals 6, so I put that there, and then I subtract, okay? So when I subtract 6 from 8, I get 2. Okay, so now we look at our problem again. We're repeating. So what can I multiply 3 by to get as close to 2 without going over? Well, I can't multiply 3 by anything to get without going over 2, because 3 times 1 is 3. So this means that the remainder in my problem is 2. Okay, so now I go to step 4, which is to add. So I'm adding the answers from my boxes. So that's 300 plus 2. So I get 302. But 302 is not my answer. Remember, I have to have my remainder. So I put my answer over here, which is going to be 302 with the remainder of 2. I can't forget that extra 2. That's part of my answer. So 302 with the remainder of 2 is my answer. So I hope you learned from this video today on how to divide numbers using partial quotients, and thanks for listening.